So let me go back to where this planet started. Originally, this planet was a spiritual realm. It wasn't this whole physical, three-dimensional deal that we got going on here. It was spiritual. So what am I talking? Listen, okay, one of the things about UNA is that we speak about the things that people are afraid to speak on. We speak about the things that esoteric, if you will. But for example, when you had those dreams where you were levitating and you were gliding or flying or whatever, that's you remembering or reconjuring, if you will, the spiritual realm. And so what we want to understand is that this planet, like really, as I've told you all from the beginning, we're all spiritual entities coming back in these physical vessels. And then if you're not in tune with who you are, you're going to keep repeating. You're going to be doomed to keep repeating because you're not understanding what this realm is. So originally this was a spiritual realm. And then things started to happen. And then there's these physical beings that came about. Physical. Well, those physical beings were originally feminine beings. They were not of a masculine nature. So I need you to be clear on this, because then there were other entities that came into the planet, according to science, according to history, and they were of a masculine nature and introduced that to this planet. Originally, before they got here, there was Parthenogenesis. There was all women tribes. You hear about these all women tribes. Now, I'm going to say this because when I speak on this, it tends to upset my brother. It upsets men because the whole idea is, well, y'all need us. You can't do this without. And this is not about putting anybody down. This is not about trying to make somebody feel as though they're less than. Everything on this planet, everything that shows up in your third dimension is here for a reason. That's the law. And I'm just going off of the universal laws and the universal principles. If it's here, regardless of what it is, it's meant to be here. So nobody's dissing anybody. Nobody's saying, oh, you ain't supposed to. No, we're not saying that. I'm telling you what the history is and what the facts are. All right. All right. So pay attention. So now you have the situation where it was originally a matriarchal planet, and then a masculine entity came in and took over the feminine entities on the planet. Now, why am I going into all of this? Because I need you to understand where we came from so that you can understand where we're going. Okay? Originally, the woman, she had all of the riches, all of the wealth, all of the knowledge, the land, all of that belonged to the woman. And I'm going to go into it this evening with etymological evidence, with historical evidence, with biblical evidence, scientific evidence, legal evidence, so that you can go and look these things up for yourself. So it's not just me saying it. All right. So now I'm going into, again, how it was a situation where the woman comes in or she was here after this, because it's really a fall. You appearing in this third dimensional realm, it means that you did some stuff and you got a lesson to learn. That's why you're here. Let's be clear on that. So when people are saying, oh, well, you know, the baby come in innocent. I've talked about this before. I've gone through this before in many of my sessions. There are no victims. And when the child comes in here, it really is a God that has created whatever dimension that it's coming back into. So I won't go into that tonight. I just want to get into this whole shift that is happening in our face. So I talked to you about how in 2020, that was a pivotal moment. That was the beginning of this whole shift, this 180-degree shift that's happening in your face. And I'm here to help you understand it so that you can be on the right side of it, so that you can benefit from it as opposed to falling under it. All right. So we had a situation where a masculine entity came in. Now, what my research shows is this entity would be what we know of as the Anunnaki. Now, there's a lot of different entities that came in. I'm not speaking on them. I'm speaking on the Anunnaki, all right, that I've studied. And we're going to talk about some things so that we have a clear understanding of what's going on. All right. So now, some of you all who have studied, you know that there's this entity called the Anunnaki that came supposedly, according to these ancient tablets, from Nibiru. Now, when you can find these books or these stories in the book of Enki, the Enki. So if you go and take a look at or read that book, what you will notice is that that book is very similar and gives you a lot of answers that the Bible doesn't give you. What we find is that the gods, plural, of the Bible are really these entities called the Anunnaki. Now, go read the book of Enki so then you'll understand. Also, I encourage people to read the book of Jasher, which is a left out version of, or the left out book of the Bible. All right. It is a very good detailed description and gives you more understanding of what happened in that time than the Bible does. But I want you to read the Bible, read the book of Enki, read the book of Jasher, read all of them because it's good information. Okay. So now we've got this entity that comes in, and according to that, the ancient text, it's saying that Enki saw another being on the planet and merged their DNA, or had this idea about merging their DNA with this other being. Now, when you read the book of Enki, I want you to go and take a look at that movie. If you haven't seen it, it's called Avatar. And that movie, Avatar, is very much in alignment with the book of Enki and what happened in that book, whereby these beings come from another planet. They find another being on a planet, and then they merge their DNA with that being. And that being was a very spiritual being. So they merge their DNA with that being, and then they create their own being. Well, that's very similar to what happened in the book of Enki. And so I'm saying all this because the movies, as you've heard, they will tell you the truth about what really happened. So we're talking about Avatar, that's a documentary. Okay. So what I'm doing is prefacing what has happened on this planet. Okay. So one of the reasons why I bring up the Anunnaki is because of the simple fact that when you take a look at some of the things that were said in there, you'll know that there was another being on the planet other than the Anunnaki, because everybody says, oh, we come from the Anunnaki, and everybody come from the Anunnaki. Okay. But there is text all over the place saying that there was another being here other than the humans before the Anunnaki. Other than the humans that the Anunnaki created before the Anunnaki. So let me get into a couple of them, then I'm going to fast forward so we can get into this dimension shift that's happening in your face. Take a look at when in the book of Enki, when Enki comes to the planet and he sees these other beings and they're trying to decide whether or not they're going to create another being. And Enki says, you know, I saw these, this is him, Enki, talking to himself, but he's talking about how he saw these other beings on the planet, and he had this idea to mix DNA of the Anunnaki with these beings on the planet so that they can create a slave or a worker race. Okay, so then that's in the book of Enki. So you go and read that for yourself. And then when you look in the Bible, remember how there was Adam and Eve. Those were the first humans, according to the book of Enki. And what they were, Adam and Eve were the first two, and they were in what we know of as the Garden of Eden. Okay. And then you had Cain and Abel. All right. And remember, Cain killed Abel. And then he had to be exiled. And his whole thing was, if you kick me out, then what the others gonna do? They're gonna try to kill me. The others, okay? What others? If it was just Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, who was these others? I'm saying to you, there's all kind of clues that are telling you that there was other beings on the planet. At that time, after they had created, those are just biblical evidence of just letting you know that there was other beings on the planet.